This video is sponsored by Dibbly Create. More about them later in the video. Most of us have ideas sitting somewhere in the back of our heads. A story that shows up when we're driving, folding laundry, or trying to fall asleep. You can see the characters, the setting, maybe even the ending. But then reality hits. Work, bills, distractions, and that story fades into the background like it never mattered. Truth is, most creative people don't lack imagination. They lack time, and that's the part that's always haunted me. Because I didn't want my ideas to stay locked away in a notebook or buried under good intentions. I wanted to see what they could become if I gave them a chance to breathe. So, I tried something different. I had an idea that sat with me for a long time. It started as a short story I'd written years ago about a mother and her spoiled child who visited a small-town shoe shop. The shopkeeper's calm, polite, and almost too patient. The kid refuses every pair of shoes, whining about each one until the shopkeeper invites them into the back room lined with shoes that shimmer like treasure. Gold trim, jeweled heels, soft leather that seems to move on its own. The child slips on a pair, and they immediately tighten around his feet. The mother screams. The shopkeeper watches as the shoes consume them both. That was the story. Fast, cruel, and, well, built for shock value. But when I thought about expanding it into a full-length novel, I realized I didn't want to write about killer shoes. I wanted something that lingered, something with weight. And after about 20 years in the healthcare industry, much of it working with older adults living with dementia, I'd seen what memory loss can do. It erases people one layer at a time. That stayed with me. So I started wondering what would happen if the shoe shop didn't devour flesh, but memories. What if the people who walked in lost the very things that made them who they were? That's when my novel idea for the shoehorn became something deeper and more meaningful. The story was less about death and more about what we lose while we're still alive. Real quick, before we move on, you can follow along by starting a free 7-day trial of Dibbly Create Pro at dalelinks.com/DibblyCreate. Freelance services like ghostwriting and editing are offered separately by Dibbly and require their own investment. More about that later. Since I already had a general idea of the story, I started in Dibbly Create with the outline generator. The outline came together in minutes, but I spent several hours refining the characters and rewriting sections so everything matched what I envisioned. While I didn't track the time exactly, I know it was work spread over several days. I'd read over the outline, picked out parts I didn't like, and then reworked them until they fit the direction I wanted. The outline generator also produced detailed character profiles with motivations, flaws, and personality traits. I went through every one of them, making sure the cast felt authentic and real. I saw my antagonist like an Alan Rickman or Charles Dance type of villain. Meanwhile, I envisioned the protagonist with the energy of Jensen Ackles or Bradley Cooper. Once the profiles were complete, I used Dibbly Create's image generator to visualize each character. The first few attempts missed the mark, but after refining the prompts, the images started to look credible. Each one captured the tone I wanted for the shoehorn, and having those visuals in front of me helped to keep the atmosphere consistent throughout the story. Attaching an image to each character made me feel more invested and confident in the direction I was taking. I could better visualize the scenes with the characters mapped out in these images as prompts. When the foundation was set, I moved to the content writer. Because Dibbly Create can only generate up to 20 chapters at a time, I divided the book into 2 parts. Each section included 20 chapters for a total of 40. The generation process took less than 2 hours, though most of that time was waiting for the content to render. Altogether, I used about 2,980,000 tokens for the first draft, and another 1,840,000 tokens for the second, bringing the total just under 5 million tokens across both versions of the shoehorn. Each chapter averaged between 70,000 and 130,000 tokens, including the outline and all 40 chapters. For context, Dibbly Create Pro accounts include 1 million tokens per month, and any unused tokens roll over automatically. Now, I had stockpiled several months' worth before diving into this project, which gave me plenty of freedom to test the tone, pacing, and structure without worrying about limits. Dibbly also offers a la carte token purchases, so if you run out, you can either wait until the next monthly refill or buy more tokens to keep the workflow moving. For a full-length novel like this, that flexibility mattered. I could experiment freely while keeping costs manageable. Now, for this first pass, I selected past tense, a scary tone, and a speculative writing style. The draft that came out was decent and gave me a sense of direction. The story wasn't terrible, but it needed a human touch to bring everything to life. I could see the potential buried in the text, and I knew better than to trust any AI-generated work at face value. From the beginning, I planned to bring in human professionals to elevate the manuscript. No AI system, regardless of how advanced, can replace what a skilled writer or editor can do. Without human intervention, an AI manuscript reads like the stereotype people love to mock, like cold, mechanical, and lifeless. I wanted the opposite. That's when I decided to contact Dibbly for their AI humanization services. The team pairs you with both a ghostwriter and an editor who specialize in refining AI-generated books into professional, publish-ready manuscripts. You can do the same thing, or if you prefer a more hands-on approach, you can ask Kip for personalized freelancer recommendations. So if you'd rather clean up and humanize the manuscript yourself, you can go straight to editing. Or if you'd rather have someone else handle it while you manage revisions, you can hire a ghostwriter. Just visit Kip in the bottom right corner of your account and request the options you need, whether ghostwriting, editing, or cover design. Dibbly is a great resource for authors who want to level up their publishing game without the hassle of doing everything on their own. Either way, the process connects you with the real people who know how to take a rough AI draft and make it shine. Once the rough manuscript was in place, I went straight to Dibbly's AI humanization services. That path assigns a ghostwriter and an editor as a team, which keeps momentum and reduces guesswork. Now, I wanted a coordinated effort that could turn a workable draft into a real book. That is how I was matched with freelance ghostwriter Evie Scout. The plan in my head sounded simple: hand off the manuscript, get it polished, and move on. That fantasy disappeared the moment Evie finished her first review. She was kind, but direct. Scenes landed out of order, entire beats repeated, and dialogue practically was non-existent. The story didn't move the way a novel needs to move, and when she offered to rebuild the book from scratch, I had to stop and take a deep breath. Starting over would be easier for her, but I wanted to prove the core idea could survive with the right guidance. And besides, I didn't want her to just ghostwrite my entire book. I wanted to use AI to generate the content, then humanize it with the right expert. We agreed to experiment. I regenerated a few chapters based on her notes so we could test tone, style, and pacing. The first version had been past tense with a scary tone and a speculative writing style. For the subsequent passes, I tested out different tones until we landed on past tense and speculative with a tense tone. This time, I added special instructions that prioritized dialogue and action beats for exposition. Those instructions changed everything. Conversations finally carried weight. Character intent surfaced on the page, and the world felt more lived in and less like a string of descriptions. After those samples landed, Evie gave me the green light to generate the full book. Once the manuscript was complete, she stepped in and started the heavy lift. Chapters were reshaped, redundancies were cut, and emotional beats were deepened. If my protagonist recognized the shop sign in one scene, he did not rediscover it 2 chapters later. If a reveal happened too early, she shifted it to where the tension would actually pay off. That attention to continuity is the difference between readable and compelling. Real life crept into this timeline though. I was like neck deep in a Kickstarter build-up, producing YouTube videos and trying to keep regular work moving. I also moved homes in the middle of this project, so that made it even more difficult. Evie had family travel and a birthday to plan, so progress was steady but never instant. She kept me updated, requested extensions when we needed breathing room, and pushed the story forward while I caught up. That patience mattered because the book got better every week. I loved peeking into the project and seeing the work evolve in real time. Evie would place notes in the project where I could see precisely what she was doing and why. The book now lives in 2 parts. The first part focused on discovery and the town's slow unraveling. The second on confrontation and consequence. Evie suggested adding epigraphs at the start of each part to set the tone, something I had never tried before. Seeing how they frame mood before a chapter begins made the entire story feel more deliberate. She also wrote an epilogue that hinted at a continuing cycle, closing on a final image that implied the darkness had found a new host. Now, that creative push showed how invested she was in turning this into a complete experience, not just a simple file cleanup. We'll come back to what I kept and what I cut later on. For now, I kept what she gave me. My biggest mistake through this stage was speed. I believed this would be a quick victory. Generate, handoff, done. That mindset is why I ran the first full draft without testing more chapters. In hindsight, I would have vetted every chapter in small batches before committing to 40. Evie found 2 late chapters that were essentially the same scene wearing different clothes, so she merged them. That kind of duplication happens when you rush long-form generation and don't spot check. Now, none of this would have worked without human judgment. AI produced a foundation, but a human shaped the story's purpose, rhythm, and heart. Evie brought empathy to the page. She asked why a scene existed, who it served, and where it should live. She built transitions, grounded motivations, and turned a workable draft into something I could stand behind. Once her pass was complete, Dibbly ran the project through a plagiarism scan. That step sits between ghostwriting and editing. The report came back where we wanted it. Minor flags were either common phrasing or harmless overlap, nothing that changed the plan. With that approved, the manuscript moved into the editing phase. Now, a quick note for anyone following along with a different workflow. If you prefer to order services a la carte, Kip can recommend freelancers individually based on your needs. You can bring in a ghostwriter, skip straight to editing, or even focus on formatting and design. I'll cover more about those options after we finish the editor section. For now, just know that I use their full humanization services because of my packed schedule and full workload. Now, from start to finish, this ghostwriting stage ran from June through August. Early cleanup took longer than planned because I spread myself too thin and underestimated what a full-length novel demands. Still, that extra time paid off. The voice finally felt settled. The structure clicked into place, and each character began to sound like their own person. By then, I felt ready to pass the baton to the editor. Once the ghostwriting wrapped, the next step was finding the right editor. The Dibbly team presented 3 options, and while each came with strong credentials, Bailey Ann's immediately stood out. Her background covered both fiction and nonfiction, she had an excellent track record, and she had already worked with horror and paranormal stories. That alone made her the clear choice. She explained what the line and essential edit package included, which was grammar, spelling, structure, clarity, and consistency. She also clarified that once editing began, no new content could be added, so we were at the point of no return. She let me know that she would coordinate directly with Evie throughout the process and that I could follow along if I wanted, but I didn't need to step in right away. Bailey kept me updated every step of the way. Each message shared her progress by the chapter. So like the first 2 were finished, then 5, then 10. She even mentioned that she was enjoying the story because horror was one of her favorite genres. That kind of enthusiasm made me confident the book was in good hands. She handled coordination between edits, marked suggestions and create for Evie to review, and later returned for a second pass to tighten everything. Even though I was buried in other work, I never had to worry about progress. Bailey stayed consistent and reliable from start to finish. Now, when Bailey needed more time for family matters, she requested a short extension and quickly caught up afterward. Her communication never faltered. Once she finished her duties, she let me know I had 1 week to review and approve the manuscript before Dibbly automatically closed the project. Now, I appreciated that reminder, but made a mistake that cost me valuable time later. I procrastinated. Between my other responsibilities, I only managed to read half the novel before the system finalized it. If I could do it again, I'd block off an entire week just to read the book cover to cover and provide notes while the project was still open. Now, after the edits were complete, she thanked me for the collaboration and mentioned that she also offered formatting services at no extra cost. I told her I would take care of that myself since I was going to handle that with Dibbly Create. Her note showed that she cared about seeing the project through to the end. Given the choice to work with Evie Scout or Bailey Ann's again, I'd jump at it. They were a solid 1-2 combo. As soon as Bailey handed off the final file, I started reading. I made it through half the book before the project auto-closed, then finished the rest over the following week. Now, I read on my Fire tablet so I could stay focused, taking notes in a separate document for anything that stood out. Once I finished, I opened the Word file and started fixing everything line by line. That phase was not quick. I spent hours cutting, reshaping, and refining. The biggest problem? M dashes. AI uses them like punctuation candy. I counted over 1,000 of them and wanted fewer than 100. Each removal took time because every sentence had to be restructured to keep the pacing intact. Some lines needed commas, others needed full rewrites. The work was tedious, but worth every minute. Now, other problems revealed themselves as I read, like continuity errors, word echoes, and overused imagery. In one scene, the protagonist, Daniel Hayes, insists he never set foot in the antagonist's lair, even though he had. Now, shard, that word, showed up twice in one sentence. Held its breath appeared so often that even the room would have passed out from all the holding of its breath. And words like breath, breathe, suffocate, and aged leather became repeat offenders. I tightened those up, cut redundancies, and refined pacing where the paragraphs repeated the same ideas. Now, while I was cleaning, I also highlighted the strongest lines so I could reuse them in promotion later. One that still stands out came from the villain, Malcolm Greaves. Empty promises don't heal broken hearts. You left them hurting. You left them behind. That line captures the story's heart and paints Malcolm vividly as the gaslighting antagonist looking to derail our hero through mind games and manipulation. Evie had written an epilogue that teased a continuation showing Malcolm's dark essence finding a new host. Thought it was clever, but after reading everything together, I decided to leave it out. The Shoehorn felt stronger as a complete story with a closed ending. Could I make this novel as the first part in a series? Yes. But based on the work we put into this project, I didn't think it'd be fair to leave readers indefinitely on the hook. I felt like once Daniel saved the town and rode off into the sunset, the story was done. Proofreading reminded me how much human labor goes into finishing a book. Even with great collaborators, you still have to sit with the text, find what slips through, and decide what belongs. This step is part of the humanization process too. It's where you confirm that the book reads and sounds the precise way you wanted. With the final proof complete, my novel The Shoehorn finally looks and reads the way I wanted. Every change, adjustment, and late-night fix turned this from a raw idea into a finished novel. The next step in the process is getting it formatted and ready for publication. If you want to see exactly how that works, catch this next video where I show you how to format a book for publishing. I'll see you there.